Hi, you're here with Beck, and we are here to talk about peace. I've got my good friend Zach with me, and Zach and I both grew up in California separately and met after, gosh, almost a couple decades of each of us living in small parts of Australia. I'm in the north, him in the south, raising our families, but we connected over a love to see people flourish. And Zach has an amazing story. I heard you speak one time, a couple times I heard you speak. And the thing that stood out to me was I wanted you to come speak more, but you said, "Can we be friends?" And that's what this is really all about, is not only our friendship, our family's friendship, but inviting others to the conversation to learn what they can about peace. So I think it'd be great if you could share your background
Yep.
in peacemaking
Yep.
and what that means to you for a start.
Yeah. I think friendship is actually big, really at the core of peacemaking, and I think in English maybe we don't understand that as much because we use the word friend for anyone that we said hello to, but it is a part of the path to peace is to actually walk out what real friendship means. And yeah, thanks for all that. I got into peacemaking not by any intention, and in fact, I failed my way into it with a lot of just complete brokenness in my life and brokenness in my family, my friendships, and lots of bitterness. And I was known 20 years ago, I think, a lot more as being a jerk, particularly to people that were close to me. And so to be here now, it's just unthinkable. It's like a different life. And that came about through living in community, through needing to reconcile with people because they just wouldn't go away. They were still there the next day and the next day and the next day, and you couldn't. I just was living in community with people that I had to sort things out. I couldn't just divorce away, which is what I was doing before. I just cut you out of my life and all that, and just didn't know how to deal with conflict at all, and didn't have any peace inside of myself. And over years of doing that, particularly overseas, I worked in refugee camps all over the Middle East, Asia. I was in all different countries from North Africa across to China. And I was constantly being challenged by my own failure at relationship and seeing the brokenness of the world and the beauty of the world and communities. But somewhere around 12 years ago, I started to discover peacemaking. I didn't even know it was a thing to even have an ambition for it. And I started to find myself doing it. That's why I discovered it. It wasn't, people told me that's peacemaking, and I didn't know that's what I was doing. And then I discovered that people do this, and it's possible to heal relationships that I thought were absolutely there's no way you could ever get those people in a room together, let alone have a good experience in that room. And I met a guy who was bringing Muslim, mosques and churches together in America to eat together and share honestly with each other. And I thought, this has to be fiction. There's no way you can get a church into a mosque or a mosque into a church. But the stories were so beautiful and compelling that I just was burning in my chest. Like, this is what I want to do. I like have to try this. And so I started trying to do that, and it just quickly grew. I started with bringing Muslims and Christians together because I knew I can become friends with a Muslim because I went to Egypt and lived there. I went to Afghanistan. I went to Indonesia. I went to Morocco. And I'm like, it's actually we're not as far apart as we think.
Yeah.
But the first challenge to peace is to say hello. And the first step to peace. And often when we're not even willing to talk is the most dangerous space to be in. And very quickly through that going well, I got invited to do it more internationally. And then I started to see more and more ridiculous rooms of people coming together and forgiving each other and becoming friends. And
I'll just say,
yeah.
when Zach says ridiculous rooms, I mean, we're going to tell some of those stories
Yeah.
over the course of these episodes, but we're talking about people that maybe there's been killing, long-standing family conflict,
Yeah. Genocide.
all sorts of the worst that you can think of.
Yeah.
You've been in the room with those people. So you're in for
Yeah.
some good storytelling if you're listening.
Yep.
But the message is
that it's always possible.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, particularly in the places and with the people, we think that relationship, that will never, there's no way ever. I guess I'm here to say, I think you might need to rethink what's possible. And if these places and these people can do this in the most, in situations that are so bad, you could never say it on a podcast, what they're living through every day. And for them to find peace, it's kind of screaming at us to maybe reassess our relationships and what actually is possible and what we can get through.
So what was that transition, or what was that, not even moment, but that led to something within you? And you said you would never have been the one to start in peacemaking.
Yeah.
Where was that next step for you? And what captured your heart about it? Why was that important?
I think it's two aspects that I would highlight. I lived in a volunteer community for 10 years before I ended up touching peacemaking. And it's actually in close community and close relationships that everything happened for me. It was not out in the jungles and with militants. It was like, my roommate stinks and I don't know how to talk to them about it. And that person just offended me in a meeting. What do I do with that? And the journeys of learning in every aspect of life. Can I forgive? Can I move forward in a humble way, in gentleness, and any of that? Or all that was learned in like the details of community. And that's pretty rare to find in the West, to live close enough to actually develop those skills.
Yeah.
Most people just leave that job as soon as they're offended, or leave that church or whatever. We have not very little that holds us long enough to get through a conflict.
Yeah.
And we just manage
Especially
them away.
this day and age.
Oh yeah. It's like
so many options in transportation and communication and
and we manage to control our lives to try to avoid all of those issues. So, but we never learned then that there's a way through. And I learned that through really broken times, and mostly through my failures of just being a total jerk and getting exposed, and people still loving me on the other side of that and walking with me beyond that. And so that's the first one, is community. The other way that I stumbled into or breaking through in this was because my community was learning to do that, we then continued going into these nations, but we were different people, and we had a different attitude towards them. We had more humility. We didn't think we were anything special. We came with an attitude to listen, and we started to just witness peace be made in things that were like, how did that happen? Wow, they just reconciled. Wow, and we realized we had a gift from what we had done, and what I had done personally in my own life, because you can't make peace if you don't have peace. So I had to get peace in my own life, but also if you haven't done it in a community, you can't help a community find peace. And so those things together, we just discovered more and more it was happening. And then we started to realize maybe we could actually do this. And then I started a journey of actually starting to bring people, enemies together. But that's a whole nother part of it. So
we'll get there.
Yeah.
One of the things that I hear you saying that I know There is this idea of peace as like centering, or if I can
Yeah.
just be alone
Yeah.
and I can have this peaceful moment alone because it's quiet, or because I've quieted the thoughts in my head, or my
Yeah.
heart's calm for a minute. And like there's this part of me that knows that doesn't work, because I can have like the most amazing
Yeah.
time in my life from 5 to 5:30 before my kids get up, and it doesn't take much for that feeling to go away.
Yeah.
I hear something in what you're saying about like you're not even touching that side of peace, which is a really popular part of peace to talk about.
Yes.
Like yoga, centering, meditation, prayer. Like there's all these things we try to grasp onto to have peace.
Yeah.
But are you saying that like peace is less about a moment of solitude and more about how we live with one another?
Yeah. It's a lot of those attempts at peace are, I can't say about all of them. I know there's a whole diverse ways people do this, but a lot of that is actually just trying to escape and deny reality. And so, which is really nice when you have the time and you live by the beach and you can sit there and you don't have kids and all that. But when you're in the highlands of PNG and there's 11 tribes around you that are your enemies and at any time could take revenge, and there's layers and layers of violence every day, it's just a different world to talk to of that doesn't cut it. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't get anywhere forward. And they can't do it. When you're traumatized to that level, you just have no access in your brain to do that sitting for whatever, And so, but a lot of my understanding of people when they say they want peace, they often are saying, I just want no conflict. And I want to just feel nothing or feel nice. And it's such a deceptive thing. It leads us actually to greater trouble. And I can't explain all that in this little time, but it's like we will get there of why the true peace that will last even in a war zone has to go straight into the conflicts and not run away from them and not try to sweep them under the carpet, not try to control them. It's actually, there's a way to absolute peace even when your life is on the line. You can actually experience complete, total wholeness and healing and peace. Which sounds crazy to say, but that's the peace we want to talk about in this time. And how do we get there? That there isn't a situation that my peace is not situational.
Yeah. It's not a moment.
No.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're on this journey of peace, where do we start? How do I find peace?
Yeah. I think that's been an interesting part for me is I didn't have a path laid out for me. And I think that's where I meet a lot of people who study. I've met people with PhDs and masters in peacemaking, and then I talk to them, and I don't mean it in like a judgment way, but I'm shocked at how they know all this history and all these things, but they have no idea how to give someone peace. They just know all the stuff. They have all the research, and it's like interesting that the journey that I took wasn't a better journey. It was probably a way more painful journey, but the things learned weren't spelled out before me to get there. But just over the last few years of connecting and witnessing so many journeys of people getting healing in the midst of unspeakable circumstances, I've been starting to see that there is actually a path laid out that is like reliable to get you to the peace that is beyond explanation. When people haven't experienced it before, they think that's impossible. I'll never experience that in my life. But I guess it's similar to like looking at some mountains and thinking it's impossible, you can't climb that. But there actually is a way. It might be
Right.
excruciating. It might cost you everything. You might
Yeah.
you might die on the way, but there is a way to the top of that mountain, and no one can give you the experience of being on top of that mountain from talking about it beforehand. And I think for me, one of the first things that is absolutely vital to peace in my life, but also in relationship with anyone, the first step to forming a relationship that's healthy is to be absolutely honest and to be humble. And humble is not like, oh, I'm down here, I'm a worm, I'm nothing. It's to be exactly who you are. Not to try to perform to be something greater, and not to try to beat yourself up to like, oh, I'm nothing. It's like to actually just be Zach, and to be fully seen with no lies, no performance or other things. Like, can I not? I think another way to say it is like to not tell any lies, and not just in the sense of deceiving someone, but even in deceiving myself about who I am, which a lot of us don't even know who we are. So it's really hard to be honest because we believe all this junk about ourselves, so it's not true. But also, it's no lies in I will not be hidden. I will not hide things that are in my life. And that's already probably canceled out a lot of mountain climbers. They look at the first the first little section and go, I can't do that. I can't be honest. If people knew the real me, I would I can't. No one will love me if I'm totally honest. But it's
let's talk about that for a second, because that is the thinking.
Yeah.
What do you think are the things that are keeping people from honesty? I mean, there's the obvious ones, like you said, maybe deep insecurity.
Yeah.
Maybe huge ego.
Yeah.
But is fear the main driver, or is it something else? Like, what have you observed?
I don't know what's the main, but I think it's so clear. Like, if you were to use the Jewish scriptures, the very first thing mentioned about humans when we turned away from who we're meant to be is that we covered ourselves. We realized we're naked and we covered. And God had to come and go, who told you that? What are you talking about? And it's that we are still trying to cover ourselves. We're still trying to cover who I really am and cover my shame. And it feels right to do that to us, but it actually imprisons us from ever having authentic relationship with anyone. And it's probably one of the most terrifying things is to actually be vulnerable. I mean, and in fact, that's the deepest longing of all of us, is to be fully known. And that's why everyone so longs for sex, because it's nakedness with someone who will accept me. But the problem with that is it's never satisfying, because it never fully satisfies. It always leaves you hanging, because that person still doesn't know everything. Even if it's my wife, she knows more than anyone else, but she still doesn't know everything. She doesn't know every thought I've had and all that. And that's where I think there's still such a need for a higher power for God, because you need to have someone in the universe that can see everything and know everything and can still love you. Because everyone else will be an incomplete love.
Yeah.
No matter what, you will never be satisfied if you're looking for satisfaction in others, because they never really know. And if they really knew, maybe they wouldn't love me. And that need to be seen fully, to be fully known, is the vital first step. I'm not going to lie. And to whatever level I can with others, to not cover, to actually just be myself. And if they reject me for that, that's okay. But I'm going to be myself. I'm not going to hide. It unlocks the first breakthrough in your life to having peace. Lies do not give you peace. I mean, we know that. It's like you can weave yourself into a tangled mess of pain, but truth is the first step towards freedom and towards peace in our lives. No more lies. And that takes us to new places. And we have that, like every relationship I have, if someone won't be honest with me, and I can tell, everyone in the world can tell if you're faking or you're performing or you're putting on a mask.
Eventually.
Yeah. Well, even not eventually, like I've been around the world and I just have learned no one is stupid.
Yeah. True.
I've been all over the world. I've been with uneducated people in the remote parts of some village, and they can tell right away if you're fake.
Yeah.
And they can tell if they can.
Yeah, it's true.
And like they know, and it's like it's inherent in all of us. Some of us have broken systems of values, so we trust people we shouldn't trust, but there's still something in us we know when someone's not being real, and we can't enter that first phase of healthy relationship or healthy community. If you expand it to your community, if your community, whether it's a church or a village or some workplace, family, if you're performing and everyone feels I can't be honest, I can't be real, you'll never even start to have peace in that setting. You'll never start to have real connection and healthy places to go. It all starts with truth and honesty, as much as you know to be true. I was trying to be honest when I was 19, but I wasn't. I didn't really know myself enough to really be honest. I had to learn more to go, oh, actually, that's not me, and that's actually I'm still performing. But the more we can take off those masks, the more we will start to move to who we really are and to a place of peace. It's just great to have friends that I'm not performing for. Yeah. Like already, even just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I love to be with that person because I'm not trying to be anything with that person. And and I can have a really bad day. I can say all this and they still embrace me. And in my family and other spaces, that's the first layer that is vital to. You can't go anywhere else. It's just a waste of time. You got to climb the first step of the mountain. So
let's go there because you've seen this in action around the world. What was a moment when you saw that absolute truth was the key to unlocking the next step for a group of people?
Yeah, I can think of quite a few where I'm going into situations where people are paid killers or they are militant groups, or I mean, death is not a metaphor in their world and in this situation. I had guys in PNG, they're hiding their machetes and their axes in the room because they're just in case, like whatever's going to happen right now, we're ready. Yeah. And what you say to start, what do you say when in that room when you're like, well, okay.
Could you take me out of the room? That's what I'd want to say.
Can we warm up the crowd a bit before I get a comedian up? But it's
those aren't for me.
So it's not the what I say, but it's the spirit of what I'm saying is so vital. It determines everything. I mean, what you say at the beginning of that determines everything that follows. And I don't say these things as a performance. That's what I want to say is like, I could say like, well, I say this, and it's like, well, you're just saying that because that's your performance. It's like, no, I have to authentically in myself be ready. And the first thing I will say is I start to confess all the things I've done wrong and the things my country's done wrong. I talk about because sometimes I'm there and these guys it's been my country, America, that has been killing them. So it's like, if I'm not honest at the very front of this, and I'm honest with all these killers and different people, I say, I'm not here to teach you. I don't have peace. Like peace doesn't come from me.
Right.
And I'm just Zach. I've had a journey. My life has been changed. If my life has been changed, I think yours could too, but I'm not some superhero. Mm-hmm. And I tell them all my failures and that I used to be your enemy. I used to think this way. I was this and that, all these things. Right. And I tell them all the things that would be their worst fears. I'm like, that's me. And even in the sense of meeting with killers, as a follower of Jesus, like he says, if you even got angry at someone, you're guilty of murder. Right. So I say, I'm not here to judge you guys at all. I'm here with you as your brother, not as a teacher. And maybe if we go together in honesty, we can go to a new future. Because I ask them, how many of you struggle to sleep at night because you're tortured by the victims you've killed and the blood you've shed. And when I was in Papua New Guinea, every person raised their hand. So, everyone in this room has blood on their hands.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what are we doing? Why am I asking that? It's not because I'm interested. It's because I'm helping everyone start to just be honest. And when everyone raises their hand, they look around. Okay, well, that's okay. We don't have to hide that.
Right.
Okay. Oh, and maybe Zach understands, because I somehow understand that you're not sleeping well. And they go, oh, okay, I can be honest about that. And then I ask them, how many of you have lost a loved one to this violence? And
Right.
it's every step is opening the door to say it's safe to be honest. And that alone launches that room into a new place. Even after 10 minutes, there's a different room
Yeah.
than what started, but it has to be real honesty. And if I haven't done that in my own life and I'm hiding things and I think I'm something I'm not, I could be the last room I'm in. But but it's this beginning place of, can you be honest about what's really happening, what you've really done, and where you're really at, and where your community's at, and blah, blah, blah. And if someone can't do that, it's okay, but we're not going anywhere. In fact, it's good to just stop, because if someone refuses to be honest about what they've done and where they've been or what's going on, that helps me. Yeah. I don't spend time there beating and knocking at the door and trying to make peace for it, but I look for those who are ready to be honest, and because you can't go anywhere while people are lying.
I think what you said about not being able to sleep at night is something that probably almost everyone could relate to. Maybe it's something they're going through now, or maybe it's been a moment in their life.
Yeah.
What would you say to, like, you have a room full of people where everyone realizes what they're coming to.
Yeah.
They might not fully, but there's something in them that's like caused them to come into that room.
Yeah.
What about the person who's listening that's going, that's my relationship with my parent or my spouse or my coworker? How do you move from that longing to an honest conversation?
Yeah.
Without the gift of a room or a peace fairy.
So
peace superhero.
I know. And that's where I often say it's easier to make peace in Afghanistan than it is in our own house. Or in my own heart. And people watch what I do, and like you said, it's like sensational. Like it's sometimes so ridiculous it gets in the way.
I mean, I don't speak at conferences where everyone's bringing their machetes and like hiding them under their chairs. Like
and so it strikes us as so obscure and foreign that we think it has nothing to do with my life because
I'm not that bad. Honestly, I think that has been my perception at times. Like, oh, I'm not that bad. And I believe everything you're saying, you know, about the teachings of Jesus. And but yet there's that thing in my heart.
They're over there. I'm over here. They're over there. We're not different lives. And which is usually, if I didn't tell them the stories of what happened, they would assume there's no hope over there, and you would never put them in a room. Everyone there believes that about themselves. They're like, it's impossible here. No one could ever make a difference. They're so full of hopelessness and despair. And you look at the Middle East, everyone laughs at like, you can't make peace in the Middle East. And until it happens, and then they go, well, it can happen over there, but it can't happen in my life. It's so funny. It's like we switch it back the other way. But yeah, the sensationalism of some of the stories does get in the way of us actually thinking this has something to say to me. And the thing that I like about it is that these places and people that the world has said should be pitied and, oh, poor them, and they're so broken over there, and like we put ourselves above them. I think it's just an irony, like almost like God's joke to have them be the ones that are preaching back to us, saying, this is actually the way and peace is possible. And how can this guy forgive the person who slaughtered his family and actually come together and become friends and have a new relationship? But my friends in Australia can't forgive their coworker who said an offensive joke. You know, and they hold it for like 3 years or something, or like forgive your sister because of something that went down at a holiday, you know? And it's like, I'm like looking at that and go, what am I looking at? But it's so much harder when it's your family in your life. And so I always say everywhere we go is peace starts with me. It starts with them. If they change, like, no, peace starts with me. And I make people say it, like, say it right now. Peace starts with me.
Peace starts with me.
Yeah, it's like, say it again. It's like, because every time we are in pain, we go, them and they, and like we throw the finger and all of this. And there's always, three fingers pointing back at me. And until you are willing to go there and be honest yourself, has nothing to do, your peace has nothing to do with them. That is really hard, but it is the first step of honesty is, can I put them over there and take responsibility for everything I have power over, everything that is mine? Can I start with myself? And can I do this first step, be honest? Even if that hurts, even if that scares me, it makes me vulnerable. No matter what the other person's response is, can I actually start with myself? Peace starts with me is always gonna be the path. And that's the only way to ever get to the other cool stories to the other person is gonna have to be me. And I think this whole podcast is gonna be that. What is my journey towards peace?
Sure.
That it impacts and others are welcomed into it, but it's not, I need to go there myself, and I can get to the top of the mountain with or without the other person.
Yeah.
And my peace is not hinging on another person's choices. And, but that's really controversial, I think, in some places. If I say that in certain situations, they go, no, it's that person. And this idea that if that person was removed, usually if they were killed, if we really are honest about our hearts, if they just disappeared, then we'd be fine. Which I don't know if you have that in your experience, but I used to think that in my community. Like, if this person just wasn't here in my team, we'd be at peace. And then it's and then that person does go, and there's another person that's a problem. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I'm like, if they just leave, and then they leave, and then I'm like, I still have a problem. And you realize it's not actually the other person.
Yeah.
Even though the other person maybe is doing things that need to be dealt with, but it's just been funny to me. The longer I'm in community, I'm like, oh, that person's not the problem. There is a problem, but I need to first start with myself, and we may find the problem and it's not actually each other.
Sure.
There's some other dynamics that will actually change this situation.
So if 19-year-old Zach were listening right now and heard this for the first time, what step would you hope that he took after this to resolve that issue of humility or pursue peace with his life?
I wish, I'd hope that I would have just had the courage to put it all out there and be honest, because I was hiding so much. I was like, I was just performing my guts out, especially as a Christian background. I just knew how to play the game and sing the songs and raise my hands and whatever, do all the things to look what I'm supposed to look like, what I'm supposed to look like. And I think I would have just really hoped he would have gotten there quicker to actually be naked, be exactly who I am, and stop playing those games.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of love sitting there ready for me that I couldn't receive. There are people that actually, the funny thing is, you think you're hiding stuff, but everyone around you can see everything. Like, it's like is that the emperor's new clothes or whatever? It's like you think no one in your community, in your family can see everything, and they actually know everything. You're you're fooling yourself that you're hidden and that nobody knows that I'm faking it. It's like, no, everyone knows. They're waiting, they're hoping you'll get there and stop playing the game and stop doing that. But
Can you just share a moment when you're in one of those rooms and that willingness to be true makes an impact
Yeah.
and unlocks the room.
Yeah. Because, yeah, I am thinking if you're listening to this, often people just jump straight ahead to use this as like, well, I just need to say what I think and, get my point out. And that's truth. And it's truth for me. And there's no step towards peace. But the way we do it in a peace camp or a peace event is, say in Indonesia, you've got 100 people in a room from 25 different ethnic groups, 25 different languages, all of which have hundreds of years of history of conflict with each other. They're Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, and Hindu. And you get them into groups of 8 or so. First thing we do is we don't say, well, what's your problem with the other person or whatever? Let's just talk out what we want to say. Instead, what we do is we say, share what's your name and what does it mean? It's like, you wouldn't, but you start sharing and people get emotional even because they're like, I'm named after my grandma and it means this. And you're like, okay. And then we go to another question a little bit deeper, but still personal. You can't answer for truth about someone else. It's only about me. Who has been a peacemaker in your life? It's like, oh man, people get emotional because they start going, well, actually, my mom's what made peace with me and my sister, whatever it is. Like they come up with this, they have a story and they start opening up with each other more and more honestly. But then we ask, like, what is a moment that shaped your life? And something happens when you go around a room of any group that's being honest about moments that have shaped for good or for bad. Some of them are telling that my father was killed.
Right.
And that you, all of a sudden you're seeing each other differently, you're connecting differently. But the interesting thing about it is we call it dialogue because it's different from monologue or discussion or conversation. It's not any of those things. Conversations like I'm trying to convert you to my understanding, whatever. But dialogue is having multiple logics which means that we are listening to different points of view. But what I find is the most powerful thing about being in a dialogue circle is that you hear yourself. And the things that you've always said, sometimes, some people just have all these racist things they say around the dinner table and when they're with their own people. And then it's like, when you say it and that person's there, you're like, I sound horrible. And all of a sudden you're like able to see more clearly, why did I say that? Where did that come from? And it's actually hearing yourself that is one of the most powerful ways to be honest with yourself. And we just rarely have any dialogue in the West or opportunities for dialogue. We don't do it. Everyone controls their own thing, like their own thing. And we don't want to be vulnerable to other people having a voice. But when we do it and it's the right question, it shines a light on you to go, where did that come from? Because whatever is in you comes out when you speak. You start to hear, that didn't sound good. Why did I say that? And many people I know have said things like, I will never forgive. And then they hear it and they're like,
wow.
And 2 days later, 3 days later, they're like, I'm going to forgive because they heard themselves and their own voice shine a light on where they really are.
Yeah.
And they start to be more honest with themselves. And then they go, I don't want to keep going that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's a different way of being honest than, and a transformative way. And having people in your life that you can do that with, that they can ask you questions and you can discover what's truly inside of you. Such a gift.
Yeah.
And so rare.
So if I were going to, I'm just even thinking, if I had a trusted relationship that maybe I wanted to be more intimate, maybe it was a safe place to practice, what are some questions that I could ask?
Yeah.
That would help unlock that for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just depends how much courage you have.
Sure.
It's like having someone that you can trust. It's not going to use it against you and it's not manipulating you. And hopefully not. I would recommend, unless you're like married or whatever, I wouldn't even recommend a romantic interest.
Of course, yes.
Because they might have a skewed view and they might have other motives telling you how great you are.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm
someone,
thinking a spouse, a mentor, a friend,
yeah,
like a
someone
trusted friend.
trusted, but friends are dangerous in the sense that they may always just tell you what you want to hear, and they
Yeah,
may
that's
not.
true.
They might have a blind spot too
Sure.
that they can't see
Sure.
because they actually maybe like the broken part of you. But someone removed that really cares and will be honest,
Sure.
and then to invite their I mean, criticism sounds too harsh, but when you're inviting it, it isn't actually harsh. When people are invited to carefully bring criticism to you, especially as a leader or something, it's like often people take that really carefully and really consider their words. But I would say a great question that I've just recently discovered that I think is helpful is there anything I'm doing or have done that is making it difficult for you or others to attach to me, to connect deeper? That's a really interesting question. I actually would love to ask you that sometime, but maybe not on the camera. But it's really fascinating. Is there anything I'm doing or have done that is making it harder for you to go deeper with me, to connect deeper? I think that would be a question that may get to some honesty of what's, because I might be, that's the thing, you're blind to what you're blind to.
Absolutely. And self-deception, like you said before,
Yeah,
is a
I'm the
very
best
real
at
thing.
deceiving myself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, having people around that, even teachers and different people in your life, coaches, I don't know, that are, and giving them the opportunities to share.
Yeah.
Is there anything you see in me that is making it harder for me to connect deeply or to perform better or to whatever it is that's relevant to that relationship?
Right.
Are there any blind spots that you see in me that you think, if I knew this, if I just knew this, I could be living a better life or having better relationships or whatever? I'm sure there's people around you that are maybe going, I wish they'd ask me.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want that person, but there's people around that might be seeing things, but they know you're not ready to hear it. You're not, until you ask, they're not going to share.
Yeah.
And
the other thing I'm thinking of is just that self-honesty, because that's something like, what would it look like to start to be honest with yourself?
Yeah.
And to recognize those things that are maybe below the surface, like what's driving those things, what's motivating. What questions could you ask yourself to better understand and be honest with yourself?
There's probably a lot. The first one that comes to mind is one aspect of life that I found. I do this all around the world. I call it doesn't matter what I call it, but it's called communities of courage. But all we do is get a bunch of people together, it doesn't matter who they are, and you write down everything you're afraid of. And I think the question, what am I actually afraid of?
Yeah.
Unveils so much of what's really going on.
Yeah.
But it's not the first answer usually. You go, well, I'm afraid of not doing well on my test.
Sure.
No, but why does that make you afraid? What is it that you're afraid of? Well, I'm afraid of disappointing my father. Oh,
right.
Okay. Like there's layers of what's actually the fear. Is it actually that I want to get a good grade, or is it actually the rejection of someone that matters to me, or whatever it is? But you write down all those fears, and then and that process alone opens up a ton of honesty. But I would say if you want to go even further, do it with people.
Sure.
And share your fears with people.
Sure.
And that, again, when you hear other people's fears, you may start to get more honest with yourself. And then my journey with that, doing it with Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, or anything, is then we just take our paper that we wrote down and then we just lift it up. And whoever, if I would recommend God, but you bring it to God and say, is there anything you want me to know about this? And that's a really fascinating process. Even atheists can say, I don't believe in God and I don't believe this will work, but I'll still try it. And then they say, is there anything you want me to know? And they still receive something that helps them overcome their fears. So it's really fascinating that it still works, even if you clearly do your disclaimer that you don't believe in it. It will still help you overcome your fears. Yeah. And you will receive a path through your honesty. But I think that's a good starting question. There's so many other questions like, what do I want? But that one is really probably the one we deceive ourselves the most on. And I don't think we ever really know what we want. We think we do, but we don't actually know. And it's a good question to be aware of, but I don't think I would start there for being honest with yourself, because you're going to say, I want this, but you don't know what you want. And so I would start with fears and and especially regarding peace.
Yeah.
You want to get to peace, well, you got to know what you're afraid of, because your fear is what's probably the primary source of lack of peace. So, yeah.
Well, what I'm hearing is that this is not a one moment quick fix thing.
No.
I'm hearing that it does require things that probably are likely to be painful and uncomfortable, learning what could be next. I'm just thinking about if maybe a couple's listening to this, or you have the opportunity where someone's willing to be honest and open. How do you sit on the other side of that and receive someone's honesty?
I wish there was an easy answer, but you have to have gone there yourself first,
Of course.
obviously. And then there's a lot of other things too that make you trustworthy to receive that from them. Obviously, they're sharing it with you, so they are thinking you are, but it doesn't mean you are. So,
Right.
And we'll get there as we keep going with the podcast. But I think there's a way for people to be honest and know that you completely accept them, no matter what they're sharing. That nothing they're sharing impacts the way you're relating to them and the way you embrace them. Obviously, that's not true for everyone, because there's certain things that can be shared and they're like, nope, sorry, I'm out. I'm not going to be your friend anymore. But if you want to be someone that walks someone towards healing, you can't be ready with judgment. You have to be ready with just to listen. But there's an interesting thing where people will feel a cathartic release by sharing a bunch of their junk, and they want to share, and they share and they share, and they have even scripts of things they just repeat to share, and they cry and all that. And it looks like honesty, but it's actually all jumbled up, confused lies about situations, and it's a victim story. It's a thing that they're using, and it's not actually truth. And I think one thing is helpful is to be able to discern that and not keep letting them repeat their cathartic release, because it's addictive for them, but then they need to do it again and again, and it becomes less and less satisfying, and then they end up in worse places because they've retold this story so many times. So you don't want to be someone who's just an outlet for someone to just retell their junk.
Yeah.
That it just reinforces it in their brain that that's who they are and that's what's real and all that. You don't want to be that, but you also you want to be able to ask questions that leads them into deeper reflection and honesty. And that's not always easy to find in the moment, but I'm learning constantly to ask better questions. We used to ask things like, what is a peacemaker in a peace camp? It's a wasted question.
Sure.
Because a peacemaker is not a what, it's a who. And you can say all day, everyone will say a peacemaker is this, and they're humble, and they're gentle, and they're this. And it's like, great. Like, we made a list, but it doesn't change anything. And everyone says the most ideal person. Cool. We know the ideal person. But when you ask who has been a peacemaker in your life,
Right.
that is an interesting question, because
Yeah.
you start actually connecting with relational things. And I think when someone's being honest with me, I want to ask a question that'll help snap them out of their script of sob story or, whatever it is and gets them somewhere deeper in a new thought. And sometimes it's that, what do you think? What is it that you're afraid of? That's the question you would ask yourself. It's good to ask people that.
Yeah.
So, okay, I hear this situation. So what is it that you're afraid of right now?
Yeah.
And that they're like, they're not used to that question. And you can get somewhere that might actually be serving them to more honesty rather than just another cathartic release because some people are just they seem honest because they're telling you all these details, but it's not actually truth that is leading them into freedom, into healing. And that's a big mess of stuff, because obviously, there's counselors and they have a whole different way of listening, and there's so many things. But I think with a friend, being able to ask a better personal question that unlocks a new part of their brain, a new part of their story, a new way to look at it is a way more serving thing than to just, particularly much better and more loving than just agreeing with them as they just tell you this and that and this and that, and you go, yeah. That is often destructive. It's not what a friend needs. That might be what they want, but that's not what they need usually. And just saying yes, and agreeing to all their, whatever they're sharing it's not actually honest. It could be actually enforcing untruths about themselves and about their situation. And so I don't know how to give details on that. I don't think every situation is unique, but I think asking better questions that would snap them out of their routine script. I say the script because we all have things we just repeat, and we said a few times and we say it again and again. And you start getting, the story gets drilled into our brains because what you repeat, your brain makes a pathway of that. And so you don't want to help them make a pathway of an untrue or an unhealthy story. So
thanks so much, Zach. A lot to think about. We're looking forward to continuing this journey with you.